This is Around the Grounds, brought to you by Absolutely Essendon, where we take a look at the week in sport. You know, we choose some of the...
Sorry. Can I just interrupt? I've just got something coming down the line.
Have you?
What?
Down
this morning.
Right, yes. What is it?
All right, we're right on to it. Thank you.
Right, what is it? Geez, as you can see, news breaking.
It happens. The world can change very quickly.
What's happened? What have we got?
Like a merit pivot out of the centre. Josh Mahoney'a, gone.
We
speak.
We're kicking off with news very close to home, very close to our Essendon hearts. Is he the GM of football?
He was. Apparently he is no longer. So I've just been speaking to Adrian, a friend of mine,
right,
who's told me that Josh is gone and will never be seen again.
Wow.
Will not be donning the sash for a moment longer.
Those
breaking news.
Well, that really is, because as we know, as we've touched on in previous episodes, there was always an ongoing battle. There was frostiness between the Mahoney'a camp and the Dodoro camp.
Yeah, there was a lot of frost. I'm not sure I would classify them as camps. I think Mahoney'a was on his own.
Really?
I don't think he had too many
supporters
gathered around the campfire helping him out in this battle to the death.
Hang on, so just to be clear, was he the head of operations?
General manager of football.
All things football.
So he was pretty much responsible for, the state of this football club.
But hang on. Does he report directly to Votso, the CEO?
He does. And there was, as you have already alluded to, some friction between him and the general manager of recruitment, or whatever his title is.
Little tension.
Well documented in the media. Embarrassing for this football club, to be honest, that you have two grown men fighting like children in the aisles, in the corridors of power, down at the hangar.
Okay.
And,
were they playing practical jokes on each other?
Probably putting fart cushions on their chairs and things like that.
Emptying the stapler.
Electronic handshake buzzers. All of that. And it looks like that shrewd fox, Adrian Dodoro, has got his man and will no longer be under threat, I would guess. And I think we're stuck with Dodoro for the next 20 years.
Or he's the next to go. Hey, keep an eye on any other announcements while we're
I think
doing this.
He's eliminated his threat. His any potential sort of stab in the back has gone. He's done it.
Do you think?
And he's done it well for 20 years. If only he could build a premiership list as well as he plays the politics at the office, we would have won 5 flags. He's a cunning fox, as I've suggested.
Well, I'm hoping that maybe it's the first of a few culls.
Well, it would be only him, and that now comes down to how brave Dave Barham is. Because I tell you what, if it was a case of letting the fans vote, I reckon there'd be a universal thumbs down, and he would be thrown to the lions. But Dodoro lives, Mahoney'a gone, and the Mahoney'a era is over. Hasn't been a great era, to be perfectly honest.
No. You're right. There were some questions. But with Dodoro, 23 years in, 0 premierships.
None.
Not many players.
Only 15 Essendon players have been selected as an All-Australian in the time that he's been in charge of recruiting that list.
Right.
And I think we've touched on that in other episodes. So that's an indictment on, you've had 23 years, you had one job. He hasn't done it very well, but he'll be with us for a while. He is untouchable. He is Teflon Dodoro.
Right.
So anyway, that's a bit of Essendon news for.
Okay, well, good way to kick it off. That's late breaking news. Let's talk about the biggest sporting news of the week. Has to be the Matildas.
Yep.
Winning the hearts and minds of this country.
They sure have.
Because was that you telling me about the ratings of the game against Denmark, that they won 2-0?
Yep.
Convincing. Mm-hmm. That had a big audience.
It was the single highest rating sporting event in this country in the last 12 months, outstripping the AFL Grand Final and the NRL Grand Final.
I am blown away.
So you can imagine what it would be if they actually made the final. That was just in the first of the round of 16 games versus Denmark.
That is quite incredible.
Yeah.
So they go on to play France tomorrow around 5 p.m.
Yep, they do.
Suncorp Stadium up in Brizzy.
Yep.
Now, what's happened with the AFL in relationship to that? What's going on?
Well, I think everyone knows the AFL for a long time have had a very deep-seated hatred of the round ball game. And
Do they really, or is that just part of the narrative?
That's always been the case. They've done their very best to, block it, rock it, knock it out of the park whenever possible.
Right.
And, certainly that was the case when Demetrio was running the show, and to a lesser degree, but still apparent under the McLaughlin reign. But, interestingly, they've bent the knee. They have realised that they're facing a tsunami of popularity for the Matildas, and to be seen doing anything to obstruct that is not good form in this current day and age.
Wow,
and
that's massive turnaround.
With the game coming up on the Saturday, some people might see this after the fact.
Oh,
but,
yeah, true.
But yes, so with that game against France on the Saturday at 5
what are they
p.m,
doing?
They're pushing back the start times or the games that are being played at the same time. I think Carlton and Melbourne, is it?
Right.
At the MCG,
at the G.
And screening the game up on the big jumbotrons, whatever they call them, video screens.
Okay,
and that was something that only
that'll be the end of the
would have
game.
been unheard of.
Yes.
To even acknowledge the existence of the game,
that is big.
Let alone pushing an AFL game out, not by a lot, but enough to allow people to watch the Matildas. And they're charged towards the finals. So.
That is huge. So they're in the quarterfinals. They're playing France.
Oui.
Who I think they'd beaten a friendly quite recently.
Did they?
Yes, they did. So that's something.
Oh, but you can't count friendlies. That's like counting the Escort Cup in the old Winfield Cup.
My God, that reference. That's like late 70s. There's
Sure.
no one.
Well, what is it called now? The
Escort
Metricon Cup or something, or the JLT Cup?
I don't even think it exists.
But that's my point, though, isn't it? It's like friendlies in soccer.
Yeah, right.
It's like when we played the Gold Coast pre-season with 36 guys.
Okay.
So anyway, beating France in a friendly, I guess it helps. It gives you some edge, but
yes. Well, anyway, but Sam Curry's back. She came on, had a bit of game time. Wasn't the crowd excited to see her? But you know what? It's not about just her anymore. That's what's the really.
Does she
thing.
Does she start the game?
I'm wondering. I don't know the nature of her industry because her injury. Sorry, because the coach
it's a calf industry.
He's been coy all along, Gustafsson.
Yeah,
he's been very coy.
His English is not so good.
Anyway, in summary, going to be a very exciting quarterfinal.
Yeah,
France are the favourites. Let me just say.
Okay,
so
and probably and rightfully so.
If the Matildas get up, it'll be the case of the underdogs winning.
Well, let's hope that they do, because I want to see this roller coaster ride go a couple of weeks longer.
We do.
And
let's extract some more from
wouldn't
this.
It be great if they made the final? I'm not going to put a jinx on them as I do with
You
Essendon
just
every
did.
week.
You just did.
But gee whiz, if they had the highest ratings for a sporting event for the game against Denmark, if they do make the final of the Ladies World Cup, I would imagine every household in Australia will be watching that. And any boss who doesn't give someone the day off the next day is a bum. Right. There's another 80s
Bob
reference.
Hawke reference from the America's Cup in 1983. We need subtitles.
He was
for
the
our
Prime
references.
Minister of Australia.
He was. What did I say?
Well, no, you didn't. I'm just helping people out.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay.
Bob Hawke.
We're just going to need our subtitles are just going to dominate the screen with our references.
We have an intelligent viewership. I'm sure they'll know who Bob Hawke is.
Do. Okay. All right. Okay.
What else?
Very good. Let's talk about the game. Big game, darts.
Yeah, well, look, this is the one that hold everything. Stop
we
the press.
have a lot of viewers interested in darts.
So there's a fantastic. What do you call them? Darters, dartsmen. Dartsmith, Michael Smith, as it so happens,
right?
Who recently scored the perfect score in a game of darts.
What would that be?
Well, you got to work your way down from 501, and he did it in 9 darts, and that's almost like the perfect game.
This is insane! Come on now! Wow, the World Championship final. Michael van Gerwen is on a 9 darter in the World final and just misses double 12. Over to you, Michael Smith.
One man misses, does the other man get? I've never seen the like. Come on, Spolly boy! Yes, double 12. That is the most amazing leg of darts you will ever see in your life.
I imagine he's English. Is he English or not?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes,
Right, okay.
because we all know that's like the Premier League of darts,
Right.
180.
So they
he-
want to go into the Olympics.
So there's a big move from amongst the darting community,
Right.
to have the very hallowed sport of darts,
Right.
which of course goes back to medieval times when
Does
they used
it?
to throw javelins into people.
Through people, right? Pin them up against the
yes,
wall.
he
Is that how it
shall be
started?
darted to death.
Right.
And so anyway, they're pushing for entry into the Olympic Games, and I couldn't think of a more worthy sport, a sport of giants that should be present in the Olympic Games. Push the 100 metres aside, the sprint, the marathon, get rid of the decathlon. Let's have darts. And I'm just wondering, what venue do you think they would be holding that? Well, you'd have to build like a 60,000 seat arena to house it, wouldn't you?
No, you just find the corner hotel, just a nice pub. Really, that's what they're used to.
Down at the pub.
You can't put them in an arena. They don't know how to deal with wind and
Can they have
weather elements.
Can they have a durry while they're...
Yeah, exactly. They're used to sort of smoke. I mean, they'll barely fit into the tracksuits. I don't know what they're going to wear because they're not generally the slimmest of cats. And
Now, is a pint of beer considered a performance-enhancing drug?
yeah, well, I mean, it'd be the only sport at the Olympics because they're not going to deal with Gatorade.
No,
they'll
Gatorade.
In fact, there's probably some other Olympic sports that could do with a bit of beer and alcohol.
The whole thing could do with that.
Just,
I think the more off our face, the easier the Olympics are to watch. But anyway,
Right.
so darts. So for those people out there that do love a game of darts, and let's be honest, that's not many, you will have, hopefully, representation at the peak of sporting prowess in the Olympic Games, and good luck to you and to the Australian darters.
Right.
The dartsmanships.
That is an exciting, very exciting turn of events. Shall we talk about the Premier League that starts soon? Because we have a very strong Australian interest, and let's face it, haven't had that for a while.
Right.
In the Premier League, with Aussie Ange Postecoglou taking the role at the Tottenham Hotspurs. So that's a big appointment.
Well, it's an interesting appointment, isn't it? Because Ange was, prior to his move to Tottenham, was coaching Celtic in the Scottish Premier League and had quite a deal of success in the short time he was there.
He did.
And was much loved by the Celtic fans, which you'd be hopeful for, because if they didn't like you up there, they'd be glassing you as you walked out of the stadium.
Bit of pressure for a
Yeah,
coach.
a little bit of pressure,
Right.
in Glasgow, let's be honest.
And before that, was killing it in Japan.
Was he in Japan, was he?
Yes.
Didn't know that. Well, there you go.
Couldn't walk down the street in Okinawa.
Well,
Mobbed.
really? Okay, the Okinawa
Jets.
whatever. So anyway, Ange has made the move down to Tottenham. Now, what would you think? Is that a good career move?
Well, hey, it'll be good for his super. I'll put it that way.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about being a Premier League coach is, particularly at Tottenham Hotspurs, is you're not going to last more than probably 8 months. But the payout is very handsome.
Right.
You're going to walk away with a cheque for several £1 million.
So he's going to be okay. But
you're a winner either way, aren't you?
But is that club notorious for having a turnstile, a revolving door?
Well, they are. I mean, they've had more coaches than we have at Essendon in the last few years. So,
wow.
Most recently they had the fiery Antonio Conte.
Yeah. The Italian dude.
Wasn't a good fit for that team. No, I mean, he's not a good fit. He's a little insane, I think.
His
Conte.
English wasn't great.
Not great.
Yeah.
The Jose Mourinho for half a minute.
Right.
So they do go through them, and I think Ange is sort of walking into that. So they're not patient. If they don't have success quickly, they tend to throw the coaches under the bus.
Right.
But maybe he's the difference. Maybe he's the kind of guy that they've been screaming out for, because the big name, European coaches just haven't had the success.
Mate, he's got that Yoda-like demeanour. I'm tipping he could be there for a while. You know what I mean?
Well, it looks like they're going to lose Harry Kane, who's, the most famous player for those
Right.
who don't follow Premier League football. He's a striker. I think he's on his way to heading the table of most goals scored in the Premier League.
Right.
Except he's probably going to be leaving. And so Ange will be going into a side where its number one player is going out the door the other way.
Oh.
It looks like Kane will be heading over to the German club Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
At least at this stage, that appears the likely
Well,
destination.
maybe he'll bring
So-
someone over from Melbourne Victory.
Right, or
Hey?
Western United.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Perth
go,
Glory.
mate, listen, what are you doing? pop over.
Well, the interesting thing is that it's funny how even in the Premier League, the presence of an Aussie coaching a Premier League side stirring the Poms.
Oh, they don't like it.
Oh, the waterworks have already started.
Right.
They love a little sook, don't they? And they were pretty much, they were. If they found it quite confronting that an Aussie was sitting in the coach's box, and will be sitting in the coach's box for Spurs.
So they're not dealing well with it. But speaking of Aussies in the Premier League, remember there was a time when we were decently represented, let's just say.
There was, for sure. I mean, if you go back to the early 2000s, there were, 20, 30 players in the Premier League of Australian origin, and big name players too, not just guys sort of filling out the substitutes bench. Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, Lucas Neal, and guys that went on to be a part or core part of that 2006 World Cup side that did so well. And got into the round of 16 before the cheating Italians took us out.
That'll do. That wasn't a penalty.
Francesco Totti sucking his thumb.
Who
will ever forget that? His visa has been denied.
That was a penalty. Lucas Neal shouldn't have gone down. But anyway, if he had stayed up, it would have been okay. But anyway.
So Premier League. So we've had in total 55 guys, 55 Aussie boys playing in the Premier. Now, this is the men's Premier League. Of course, there's the women's competition as well. But in the men's, 55 Australians. And at the moment, though, I think we've only got two that are actually into. I think there's Garang Kuol, who plays for Newcastle United.
Almost kicked the winner against Argentina in the most recent World Cup.
And young Cameron Puepion, who's at Brighton. So there's just the two of them. So times are a little tough for the Australian soccer scene.
Why is that? Is everyone playing, don't know, looking to start for Port Adelaide?
Maybe it's the A-League is good enough to keep players here now, or perhaps that could be a part of it. I wouldn't have thought so.
Don't know if there's that much money in it. So. I mean, that's probably the third biggest sport in Australia? Third?
Oh, what, you're not counting lawn bowls? Talking of which, Commonwealth Games, it may not be over. It may not be over.
No, has it got a pulse?
It has, and
who's the defibrillator?
Well, we talked a couple of weeks ago about the sad demise of the Commonwealth Games and how Dan Andrews didn't see it as fit for purpose in terms of Victoria's budget. Quite rightly so. He was looking down the barrel.
He didn't do his numbers properly.
No, he didn't.
Which really doesn't ever.
Not great when your Premier can't add up. But anyway, so they were dead, and the Commonwealth Games were dead in the water. But it seems that Gina Reinhardt, the CEO, chairperson of her company, what's that called?
Hancock Prospecting, I think.
Yeah, richest woman in the country, maybe even richest person, has said she's going to throw some money at the Commonwealth Games if it helps to sort of bring it back to life, and possibly,
that's when you know,
possibly hold it in your favourite part of the world, up in Queensland.
Right.
Because they had it up there recently, right?
They did. So they're all set up. But I mean, that's when you know you have too much money.
Yeah.
When you're looking to prop up the Commonwealth Games.
Let it go. I mean, seriously.
How much spare cash have you got?
There's a need for hospitals.
Yeah.
For the love of God. For the children.
Yes. Roads.
Please. Yes. I mean, I do know she does contribute a lot of money to charity, so we're not making light of it. I think she's talking about throwing $60 million to help light the flame, the Commonwealth flame. So
is she?
Better put your money back in your purse, Gina. It's a dead duck.
That's not going to go. Let it go. Dan Andrews said it was going to cost $6 billion, but I mean, as we said, he's not good with numbers, so he just probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's hardly like she's going to make a dent on that type of cost profile with $60 million. But she's saying, look, if it helps, to be fair, she's not saying this will restart it. It's here's a little sweetener.
Right.
The woman who pulled out of Australian netball sponsorship is now throwing that money back at an even more ridiculous sporting competition. So,
what is going on with her?
Yeah, she's probably been sniffing the bauxite a little too much.
Is that in iron ore?
Well, it is a white powder. Anyway.
Is it?
Well, I think it is.
I failed chemistry class. Didn't even turn up in chemistry.
It's actually geology, but
is it?
That's probably why you failed.
That probably didn't help.
No.
Okay. Well, I want to mention...
Yes, please do.
Australian athlete, Peter Bol,
who he is
was accused
sneaking, cheating... What?
Accused of drug taking he was. He's been cleared now.
Oh, sorry.
He's been cleared. They I think it was Sporting Integrity Australia said, oops,
Sporting Integrity Australia.
I think that was the name of the body.
Is that the drug cheating panel? Was that once ASADA?
I'm sure they have strong connections to.
Well, that's a credible organisation, isn't it?
I'm sure they did.
So they
But
accused
anyway,
him of cheating.
They dragged his name through the mud.
As they do.
Said, mate, you're a big cheater. And he said, no, I'm not.
No.
I promise, I'm not. And I'm really quite angry.
Yes,
And
as you would be.
Turns out he was right. They stuffed up. So
where
does that leave him?
He was cleared of those allegations.
He has been cleared. He has been totally cleared.
So where's he sit now? Is he on a park bench with a bottle of wine? What's happened to him?
Very much so. Don't
Right.
know what's left of his career.
That's
Don't know if
terrible.
he feels like running, but that is shameful.
You know, the problem with these institutions like ASADA and WADA...
It's close to home
and
for us.
MADA
let's face
FADA,
it. Yes.
is that they employ little people with little minds.
Who didn't have many friends at school.
Never had friends. Failed to get into the police force. And, and that's saying something, let's be honest, with the quality of policing that we are familiar with. And so...
You could share a lot about
I
that,
could,
couldn't you,
and
Adelaide?
I could certainly do that. And there's this kind of little man syndrome going on. And as soon as they get a sniff that someone may have cheated, they are on to them. And dogs at a bone, they
Yes.
will not let go. And people suffer.
Yeah,
and
they do.
I guess, everyone knows, of course, that we are big Essendon fans. And
Yeah.
in case you didn't see the backdrop.
Take a guess.
And we've got first-hand experience at the abuse that organisations, institutions like ASADA and what do you call it, the Australian Sporting Integrity.
Look, yes.
It's a weekend resort for assholes. And have they actually ever caught a cheat? I mean, what's happening in China? Are they getting onto the Chinese?
Yeah,
And their swimmers?
yes. Well, you would think that their time would be better spent over there.
So poor
You
old
would have thought.
Peter Bol,
Yes.
who I think he's a long distance runner, isn't
I
he?
hope. Yeah. I think 800 metres is his thing.
800.
18, maybe 1500. I'm not sure.
what an
Please
absolute
share.
shame. Oh.
But it just hurts. It just hurts.
So is he still
For
competing or
someone like
running?
that.
Is he-
Well, he had to take a break, I think, while this was being investigated,
Yeah.
which is just.
I mean, imagine the mental
how
health you go through.
disruptive is
Yeah.
that? I mean, any sponsors that you had,
So,
seriously.
I think we need to say, ASADA, Australian
whoever you are,
Sporting Integrity,
whatever your name is.
thank you for your service.
Yes.
You're no longer needed on your bike.
Yes.
Um,
See you later.
I think that's it for this week's
Well,
show.
I mean, there's probably been lots of other stuff, but we're losing the satellite. We've got to leave it at that.
Hang on, just a sec.
Yes. Can you? Has there been any other news? Has there been maybe something? Maybe it was one of two.
Pick up the coffee and don't forget to turn the heater off. Oh, shit.
Right.
Sorry.
Damn
Okay,
it.
that's it
Okay.
for me. I have nothing
That
else
is-
to add in this week of sport.
That is all. Thank you for supporting our new segment.
Yeah.
We're still getting up on our legs.
It's starting
Well,
to get a bit of traction, this one.
Huge. Huge.
Like a speed skater at the Olympics, it's not slipping over. We're coming through strong.
But like Stephen Bradbury,
We will be there at the end.
we will persist.
All right,
that'll do.
Thanks, folks, and we'll see you next time on Around the Grounds.
Any sports you want covered, please comment below. Let us know.
On that point,
Yes.
no one draws out a show like we do, but on that point, I would like to cover some motorsports.
Would you?
Yes, I would like to cover some motorsports, and I think let's do a poll. Maybe two people.
Hang
are
on, we
still
were just
watching.
wrapping this up, but we're now going to just
We-
add on another little chapter.
Should we
Right.
do NASCAR,
All right. Okay.
motocross,
Right.
supercars, or Formula One?
What, mate? I'm impressed that you were even.
Let's
Did
see
you-
what you think. If even one person answers that, we will do a segment dedicated to one of those four particular motorsports.
Right.
Because let's be honest,
There you have it.
motorsports rule.
Do they?
They don't.
Okay.
But we're going to make it. So,
Okay.
that's
All right.
it.
There you
That's
have it. Please
No more to add.
comment below.
See you soon.
Subscribe.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
See ya.
Bye. Okay.